I've been chewed out 3 or 4 times this week.
That was even nice to know. Listen. Some of the after effects of that COVID
I'm pushing the senior thing. How's Brother Condolas doing? 2 or 3 weeks.
You know, I don't know where the heck it is, but I'll let you have it. Came in up at all to get a scope on it. And I'll tell you the biggest mistake I made. When I first started working on that, it was a fair market value free. But I was thinking that they get more bang for the target home used and everything. You're looking at $5 or $6 a year tax break on that big.
So, gentlemen, did y'all get that Teams thing working? Okay. Cause
Y'all get on it, let me know how it goes.
well, our guy is at work and I used it, but it conflict every time. My work one will just override it, and that's all they'll bring up.
I have hard enough time just answering.
Me too.
Was 25%.
And I got so much stuff on this phone. Work.
That they buying land cheap and houses cheap.
That.
They also use to pay
Treasurer for the touchdown club. I did get out of being treasurer for the fire department.
Y'all done any better recruiting?
You can't hardly find any that dedicated to that. Stick with it. You got to do the training. They don't mind going to fires, but it ain't, it's not very good if you
Don't know what to do.
have no idea. You get there and the thing is, don't know how to run the pump.
Judge, how are you?
10-15 minutes.
Well, I sat about as much time.
Judge.
That's right.
That's a scary thing now. The judge doesn't show up.
But there was one guy in there, he
Total of ours also gonna be here.
He's out in here for band.
Yeah. I don't know who's gonna back up who though. I'm got mine.
20 minutes later.
How you doing?
They let you go first. I'm just here.
It's been a day. But I was worried when we first started if I was gonna make full circle to
Paparazzi has arrived.
I told myself, I had
Chris Road shows up. It's always quality entertainment.
Always. He's everything.
He doesn't like for evidence. And we have some dealies that are ducks in a row, and we have some, there's some that were definitely taking advantage of. He did what he had to do. But once we get that clear, we kind of.
Volume 27.
Half of them can speak English. Then you have these folks.
Program type filtered by all Sim on TV Plus.
How many of you have probably 120?
Channel 1009 CNN replaced. Breaking and late news. 4 p.m. to 5 p.m.
This is fine. Pretty well back.
Not available. Route within on demand.
60 or 70 on the side.
It's playing TV and that it doesn't have a.
I remember, unavailable. Here.
I just hope they don't stop them to talk to
That's the one place you guys go right by. Yeah, but they probably still right.
On now 5 items. Early TVG on now.
So that's how it is.
good.
Passed. He received.
What are you doing up on that leg like that? Walk around.
His wife is working.
That's being it, and I don't know how to turn the volume, there's no volume, but.
Basically,
But
she wanted me to do that. They like the program. She wanted us up to 4 years.
I did it from and now I'm gonna do it to like
You know,
the rec.
That is, that's the reason we did it.
sometime in the past. Can't very well be like. Conscious that our senior minister was paid the money, consequently was that series of older ministers that are receiving fire safe. You know, we were their last son.
We got all kinds of
You
systems.
know, they didn't go out and get money.
They get analyzed, you know, as far as the quality.
He came on board with us and actually saved us $75,000 in compensation. I mean, he is just such a wonderful thinker when he gets there,
You know, politics.
teaches me about and
He's good, so she's not. Yeah.
Line up with all these places that it-
I think it'd be safe to say across the board on the side. You might get some of them. And Andy Stanley, type ministers,
I guess the president.
oh, no, I think it's
All that.
you're absolutely right.
Between the farmers,
We become,
that is.
it's all.
That's right, we still
Thought
got.
it'd be put that.
Correct.
Correct.
I can go all the amount of.
We have people that identify
All the old guys.
actually, I think it'd be Christmas last.
Oh, yeah.
Just, about memory.
Yeah, I thought we might give a little bit of, yeah, in mine, because I've been here so long, I thought, just talk about what's done, maybe the impact outside of just.
We're gonna do the first one, and we're gonna wait till 6 and start.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
bring up some names.
There's two that she had extra days.
Put together as a article for the program.
Christina's kind of like a, Todd's kind of like a show man. She's right there.
I definitely feel like Henry Black.
She runs everything. He's size of the chick. That's it.
Definitely Henry Blake. Yeah,
That's what I tell folks, one of the guys I have worked with was just plumber named Tim O'Connor. And I could think something Tim would be doing.
You know, the other one.
You know, I mean, I never.
You know, Ricky McElroy.
Alex is like that. Me and Alex catch ourselves. I'll be like, today, if y'all don't mind, I'm gonna run out.
Because he is little.
Party on.
That's what they do.
It's happened most, Rondi, cause it happened a couple times.
He knows a lot of that history.
Yeah, Ricky. Well, most time I ask Christina, you just do it. What do you
They
mean?
still got, we went Saturday to the.
Yeah, I was there when the first one, I didn't.
Jim was.
Maybe it's fine, but I don't remember.
I got pictures of the.
Oh, yes.
Then I had I got back, I was seeing a football thing, two men, and get back, so but, they look so good.
I think they did. I think that. You.
And I didn't. good.
He's pretty intense, but I think he's probably helped. Ben's been doing good, I can see.
Thomas was in, Thanks, right? Ben's working with Ed around here.
Oh, yeah.
And then they can take that all to where there's the.
All the time.
That brings back memories too.
She told me her.
So according to this, you've got the budget down first.
Yes,
That
the
Thomas was
budget work
here.
session with David Patton.
All right, boys.
Yep.
Talk to her about that. I didn't know if you, I did not. Let's just touch it another thing, excellent job.
There you go.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Commissioner.
Same to you.
I'd like to welcome everybody to the Madison County Board of Commissioners Budget Work Session, agenda August 16, 2022 at 5 p.m. Is there any statements or remarks from citizens on this particular agenda? This is to discuss the 2023 budget. All right, hearing none,
Has this been posted and made available?
no. The budget.
No.
Magistrate Judge Patton is here to discuss his budget. Let's see, remember which person, or just give me the department.
Facility 38.
38.
Mm-hmm. I can.
It's hard to see.
It's on me, man.
I hear you, man.
You might want to take back off that if you see that.
But I'm gonna look at this fine print.
Oh, okay, that's fine now. Good afternoon. Good to see everybody. Appreciate all that you do. When I took office in 2015, I had 3 full-time clerks, deputy clerks. And I've maintained that up until recently. Now, the senior clerk, she told me when I got elected that she had planned to retire with Judge Rice, but that she'd stick around long enough for me to get my feet on the ground. And I'm glad that she's waited as long as she has, because, boy, I'm telling you, she's a lifesaver. So, she's worked full-time as my senior deputy clerk, also serves as a senior associate magistrate. She is a wealth of knowledge with all things civil. While I could hold my own criminal stuff, civil stuff is just a headache within itself. So I was proud that she stuck around to help me out. And she can do anything criminally, civilly that I do, but she's more comfortable with the civil stuff. All that's above and beyond. Here recently, she has gone to 2 days a week. She retired, semi-retired as my senior clerk. She's classified now as a senior associate magistrate. Still have my 2 full-time deputy clerks. One of them is now an associate magistrate, and she's training hard to take care of whatever needs to be done, and she's doing well with it. Of course, she comes from a law enforcement background, so she has a lot of the knowledge to learn and ask plenty of questions. And the key to all of that is the fact that if something were to happen to me, I need somebody that could look after things. And so that's been a long time coming, to have a full-time person like that. So, back to square one. When Pepper went down to the 2 days a week, that kind of left me short of some hours. Now, of course, our caseload continues to grow, and you know, 20 just created more silliness with the way people act. I used to say that it was a full moon kind of a thing. I don't think the moon has anything to do with it anymore. I think everybody drinks Kool-Aid, and so there you go. That's just my personal opinion. That doesn't cost you. I'm seeking to try to get back in line in 2023 with 3 full-time deputy clerks. Pepper is going to maintain her semi-retirement. She still says that she's weaning me, and I believe as time goes on, she'll be able to cut her hours. I can't promise that, and I'm not asking for that. I told her she's good. She can do whatever she wanted to. I was proud she was there. So in seeking this full-time deputy clerk, just an entry-level clerk, in doing so, that will also free up time for my magistrate, Cheryl, to start doing more of the magistrate court stuff, helping me with bond hearings, taking care of warrants. First 8 years, I was 24/7, and for the most part, still am. The only thing 5 o'clock meant was getting rid of this tie, because phones still ring. I'm still doing warrants at 11 o'clock at night. We have something, investigators wake me up at 3 o'clock in the morning for a search warrant. 8 years, I'm tired, and I'm starting to realize maybe I need to share the load with somebody else. I'm a slow learner. But that's where I'm at, and that's what I'm asking for. Moving forward, going back with a full-time clerk to keep Pepper part-time as an associate magistrate.
Judge, and we've gone ahead and put calculations for the numbers in, including what the numbers you all see is the numbers that include the state mandated raises, the state mandated COLAs, and then also the wage study for the employee thing you're seeing there has all those numbers already calculated into it. Because I want to say that just that position only affected your budget of only 730.
Right around 30.
Yeah,
30.
it's really close to that. So the overall jump you see in that was the other factors, well, one of them being the state that we don't have any effect on. Change that one. Judge, I did not, normally when I go line by line, I would have asked these questions. I don't know how I missed you. But I look at a couple of them being like your prosecutor defender. I look at the actuals, and then I look at the budget, and it looks like, 20 and 21, you used 1,800, but we allotted 3,000. Do you think 1,800 or 2,000 would be fair for that if I cut a little bit out of that one? I mean, I know we're always guessing.
Yes, and it's a hit or miss. I think we could probably make it happen. Yeah.
Right.
This stuff are the same basic things I've had ever since. What Judge Rice left me when he went out is what I pretty well tried to maintain within reason, like the cellular bill that I have no control over, and so I try to keep that. But as far as I know, I've never been in the red in the 8 years that I've been here. I've always managed to work it out, make it happen. I try to be responsible. Part of those dollars are my tax dollars. So
absolutely, and it was not in any way negative. I'd like to develop a pattern over 5 years, or somebody comes in here in the future and says, "Can I see the budget versus actual for 5 years?" and say, "Boy, y'all really did trim it down to where the actual was."
So some years is better than others. We've had a little less on our hearings, and that varies from time to time. And in the cases where we have our misdemeanor hearings, sometimes that generates other bench trials and things like that. So we're the best this year that we've ever been without. And I don't know why.
So, on the line there, the clerk that you're talking in addition to Pepper. So I see there, 32,351. That's what y'all calculated that salary. I guess that does go with the new wage study, so that puts us in line with
Yes, sir.
That's what it would be with the new wage study.
that. Okay. So that would keep everything in the same classification or whatever.
That should put us on the right page.
Judge, are you expecting, because of the new employee and because of Cheryl, a bit more, travel, food, and lodging? And the only reason I'm asking, I would have normally already done this, and I'm sorry, I don't know how I missed you. But, just looking at your actuals versus what you've been using versus budgeted, we could stand to take about 2,000 out of it, bring you back to 3, because it looks like there's some years you had none, some years you used around 1,000, and if I leave 3 in it, that'll cover travel, food, and lodging.
The only thing is, by adding Cheryl as my associate magistrate, there's required training that all 3 of us have to go through now.
Okay.
Now, the past, we've saved money because the COVID beast has stepped in at the end of the year where we usually go to our conferences, and they've pulled that rug out from under us, and so we've stayed here. We haven't had any of that expense. This year, it looks like we're wide open and everything's going to go as planned. So I don't know that I can safely trim. As a matter of fact, going forward, I think we're going to have to increase the travel, food, and lodging and the
Education
training. And that's where that comes in, where I pencil that in, is the fact that not only the cost of registration and those things have increased,
Okay.
and the cost of the hotels, but we've maintained the judges, and that's required by law.
Yeah, that's fine. I just noticed it had went from 3 to 5. If you've already penciled that in, then it's already, I'm sure Missy's already followed up on it then.
Judge Pat, let me ask, has Cheryl already done the 40-hour minimum?
She has, and we were fortunate enough to catch that in Athens.
Okay.
For both of them. She is caught up with those 2 mandated 40-hour classes, and she's wide open.
Okay. I was just making sure that didn't hit during COVID and
Yes.
she got those down already, because I know those are expensive when you get those 2 classes in a year.
Yeah, and by them being local, we didn't have the lodging part, and those ladies are very frugal
Well,
when it comes to that.
Yeah, from my personal opinion, the educational part is well worth it. I mean, we actually save money in the long run by our folks being educated and avoiding errors. So there's other departments that I hope will do the same.
Yeah. Liabilities and all.
Yeah,
so everybody is up to par. And here again, even with the traveling, as we go back to like Pepper, she doesn't like to be away from home. So she's managed to find the classes that she needs to where she can stay close by and still look after all her critters. So she's money wise on a lot of this stuff too. She benefits a lot.
On 2,000 for legal services at a 3, and then the next line is prosecutor defender. I went to 500 instead of 800, and that's the only changes I've made. That's $1,300, which at least it'll bring it down there to like 129.
Let me also ask, on the variance line item, the small equipment that's not capital. I know we're sitting at 3,000 in the requested budget, but we have spent $1,373 one year, and then in 21 we spent just a little over 2. Could we turn that back to either 2,000 or 2,500?
I'd rather keep it the same, and I'll tell you why. That's my emergency funds. Now, my computer in my office has not been updated in the last couple of years. All the others were updated. Mine wasn't that old when they did so I chose to take a step back and keep what I had. I usually wait towards the end of the year before I go into things. My computer is limping now, and it's showing it. And of course, I've got the oldest word program in the whole county, I think. And it has nothing to do with the slow computer or the slow keyboard. But it's telling on me. We've got a copier that that was used when we got it, it's limping too, and so we're pinching pennies trying to figure out in the year where we can possibly upgrade the copier and either get one of the ladies to share their computer with me or get one, so. This is
And then the hardware budget is to an IT for your department, let's look and see what's there, and see what we can work on and get you updated.
Cause that should be the department that comes out of is IT.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that won't even be, it won't be capital, we can pull it out of the IT budget for you
All right.
and get you upgraded.
Now, one thing that I didn't include that comes to mind, and of course, this was something that was going to work into this year's budget at the end of the year out of that same fund, was getting us entry-level clerk, if all that comes to. But here again, that I should have the money in the budget to handle that with what we got this year.
You haven't spent any of your IT money, so your IT money's still there from last year.
So, this is a general question, looking at IT, as it brings up, do we have a certain vendor, or we, for our
We're gonna
computers?
everything for Tom, all of that. I mean, for instance, Christopher just got a new tower installed in his office, and it was just a little over 800 towers and the software and everything to be installed.
So we rely on Thomas to make sure that, okay.
Either that or the department head will go online and find it, or find the best price, and we'll give it to Thomas and say, hey, can you beat that price? If
Right.
not, order it for us and run it through the budget.
That was my question, I just wanted to know, did we have a certain vendor, or had we, how we were doing? Okay.
Right.
All right.
All right. Anybody have any questions for Judge Patton?
I appreciate your time, consideration.
Thanks, sir. Yes, we thank you, and we appreciate the work that you've done in association with our, with Christopher and that group down there that helped shore up that area as far as, doing things with the, I guess, when they have to go to court, that's been helpful.
Y'all had court today, how many was in there?
Well, I don't know, at lunch, and there was a lot of it.
I thought he said there was 29 cases in there today.
And some of the cases, they blend over, just because of the way things goes and trying to give, people full benefit.
Right.
Some cases you can't always take care of every month, it lingers on, but he's working. That department is going at it.
And we appreciate this, the input that he's, that you've had in that to make things happen. And we know it takes some time, but we can see things out there that are changing.
Yeah, there's some eyesores that's been long overdue. That eyesores and liabilities go hand in hand, and that includes the county. And so, you know, if we don't get a grasp on some of these places, not only is it bad for the next door neighbor for what they have to deal with, but it falls back on the county, and if we don't keep up with it, it can cost us even more. So he's addressing those things. He's doing good.
He stopped by my office today before he headed to Jekyll. What he was most excited about was there was a situation in court today where the person did not get a fine, but they got community service on that particular road, and now they have to go through there and clean out the creeks that they throw the stuff off in. So it's not only the part about him bringing them in, but it's how you're handling them going out the door. The repercussions that we're going to see is going to benefit everybody on that road, and that came from a caller. You know, that particular deal come from a caller that went out, opened the bag, found the mail, and says, Christopher, there you go. It's got the name and address on it.
Yeah.
So it was a
win-win situation on that, because that gentleman had no money. There's no way we would have collected him a fine, but he had plenty of time, and so that just,
Well,
you know,
that
works
should
out
make an
well.
impact on that occurring again.
Yeah, and helping keep the neighborhood nice too.
That's it.
Thank you.
Gentlemen, my door is always, well, I won't say open, but it's unlocked. You can stop by my corner of the world any day of the week. I'm not hard to find. I can't run very far. I'm in the corner. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Missy, I apologize, I don't know how I missed that on that one. I didn't see anything on Judge Pat.
Last conversation said that we can find teams.
Yeah. But that'll drop him down to, 329.
Well, and the computer and the software upgrades needs, that's all in the IT. budget.
Absolutely. That's why I say it'll drop him below 329.
And there's some departments that aren't needing anything.
IT is one of the figure out, and I know it's been the way they've done it in the past. It's really convoluted because you're looking at a number and you're trying to compare the number to that budgeted amount for that number. And I wished under each department, IT would be a line item there, so I could see it in that budget versus having to go to a huge IT budget and then figure out whose 20,000 is that? Well, it's Department 38's, and then whose 36,000 is that?
It's already
Department
on my
24.
wish list for the new software.
Yeah, I know. I'm super excited about that because it'll definitely make him a little more enjoyable. Because you can see a true bottom line there.
Right, and you can see what each department truly has, not trying to fit together 3 different programs for one department.
Yeah, that leads back to my other question about how we're buying that too. Then it also maybe help to streamline some of that as far as who's buying where. You know, there might be some opportunities there that we.
Would it also separate, or will you desire to separate capital dollars into departments?
Capital dollars? Probably not, unless we're assigning, like when y'all assigned capital outlay to the rec department cameras, at that point we would put it into rec department budget, or we would create that line item in there for that, and it would be a capital outlay. We would move it and assign it to that facility instead of just being in the department like it is now. That is something that is one of the things I'm looking forward to, because in addition to IT sitting outside but still having every department's budget, or every department within its budget, there's also repair and maintenance on vehicles that's under the rec department, you know, that's sitting out in another department, but it has every facility in that one department.
It's not in the, like, for instance, road and vehicles, sheriff's office does not carry that under their dollar figure. It follows the confusing. It's even more confusing, well, we use Judge Patton's, you know, right now it says he's gonna end up being at 329, but in realistic, if we go to the IT page and factor that number in, it could be potentially 360. So if any at it, same with the rec department. Rec department, you're gonna see a massive increase for them. What you don't see in this piece of paper is the revenue side that had an increase. So when people look at it like, oh my God, they're gonna spend that much money on the rec department, they forgot that there's fees that pay that budget back, not just, one of the largest things, and we'll hear it from Shelley later down the road, is there's probably about $400,000 increase through tournaments. But she has a spreadsheet to show what the revenue from those tournaments, how it's gonna offset that and actually generate a little bit. The downside for the public is understanding what we understand. So that's our job to clear it. Judge Patton has done a good job in running with Cheryl, moving her over. I think she was 20 or 21 years in jail. She was a captain at the jail before she come over here to be his associate judge. Just for this board's knowledge, the state allocates a lump sum to the judges automatic salary.
For associate.
Associate judge, yes, for associate judges.
Not the chief, well, chief magistrate has a state set salary.
Yes.
That we have to abide by. The associate magistrate, in addition to the clerk's salary, there's a set for being a judge. So
there's and I know y'all are aware that a lot of the Constitution officers is getting a 5% COLA this year, whether we.
5,000, flat 5,000.
It's a flat 5,000, yeah, flat, but it is being looked at as a COLA, one-time deal. But again, we have to budget for that. So when the taxpayers say, well, they give everybody a $5,000 raise, no, the state did, we had to just follow through.
The state mandate that we give it, the state mandate.
Yeah. Which the state does that a lot.
meetings now.
Yeah.
How
Well,
big,
that's the state legislature that does that.
how big of an impact did our wage survey have percentage-wise on our total budget? I mean, was it 1%, 2%?
It increased budget by almost $1 million. It's like right on the nose, about $1 million. It's right at 3%.
I'll say that's definitely the marketplace, and I thought it would be.
Well, we wasn't. So what happened with that is due to the efforts that we put in 2020 and 2021, we had already put about $750,000. We was going to come up 1.75 short. Fortunately, our best guess number that when I spoke with Evergreen and I told them I'm projecting we're going to be around this number, we missed it by $77,000 out of $1 million. How much we missed it by, but super excited about it. We have surrounding counties that is in much worse shape than we are. This wage study now shows us, according to speaking with the EMS director, Bobby Smith, speaking with the sheriff's department, speaking with the road department, and another department here, we are equal to surrounding counties. Now, granted, that'll only be for just a minute, because about the time that they leave, whichever county they're employed to come to work for us, then they'll start giving raises again. We're in a good, solid position for at least a few years. And for Zach, that $1 million at 3%, I would rather it be said 3% increase versus $1 million. Let them shock everybody, but realistically, that's really just not that much money. We have employees that were far enough out of scale that had been here 20 years. They're probably going to see the largest of the increases only because they worked for peanuts for years. Some of the more recent employees that we've hired come in at a little bit higher pay rate, which they're not big raises. But I do think, to answer your question, Dennis, on like a CDL truck driver in 2020, we were offering $12.50 an hour for a CDL truck driver, and that's what they had been paying from $8.75 to $12.50 from 1995, pretty much, till 2020.
I don't have any complaints about that.
So now we've actually got them. Last year they got a little bit. The year before that they got a little bit more. So now we're looking at probably about a $3 an hour raise, and they'll be sitting at 20 because we've made those increases. So we've absorbed such a good bit of that burden up front.
No, I don't have that.
But now we're competitive.
Excuse me, so another number to play with on my phone.
41.6. That's 20 times 280, or 2,080 is 41.6. Thanks to what we come up with, but that's a good. I think we'll be able to fill our positions and or kind of pay.
Good luck.
Yes.
Good luck.
Well, for a minute.
Huh?
For a minute.
Yeah.
Finding,
Trouble is finding somebody to work.
Well, yeah.
Evergreen will be here to present to the board September the 26th. If y'all have any questions.
That'll be good. Yeah, I think y'all are already got it good, so I think it'll be good.
Believe there was a single employee out of 280, maybe 287 total county employees. I don't think there was one employee that get affected in some way by this wage study.
you ready for the morning?
That's good.
I'm sorry?
You ready for 25 to come up?
That's good.
Oh, yeah, that's what I'm waiting on.
Yeah.
just talking to kill 30 minutes.
I've been throwed out of better place. You know, the thing.
I thought you just wanted to hear us.
No, the thing about a $12 an hour CDL operator is he's not gonna take good care of that $250,000 like a $20 Iron Man will. You hope.
I tell you what's most impressive, and I don't have to call his name, but we have one particular CDL truck driver up there that was around $12 an hour, 17, and he washes his truck on Friday before he leaves here.
That's right.
He washes that Peterbilt, top to bottom.
It's
That's impressive.
Well, somebody's taking.
That's right. Well, that's his office.
Yeah, you get them.
That's his office.
All right, Lamar.
All right. The wage study stuff, y'all will throw at me, and again, as I've always said in the past, whatever county needs, whenever I'm supposed to do it, I'll be more than happy to. I did have 4, well really 5 line items that I increased. One of them was the maintenance, control, office, and equipment, those state mandated scanners and printers and stuff like that. Know what we're gonna have to do with them, anything like that, so I bumped that from $750 to $250. The other line items are all line items that revert money back to the county. Filing fees, because there's a little bit different collection tactic. I'm gonna start putting 5 phase on mobile homes this year, okay?
We do what now?
Putting 5 phase on mobile homes this year, okay? Now, it's not gonna be a 30/50 like you have now, it'd be $20.50. But us going out, hanging notices on doors, we save postage fees. All of the 5A money reverts back to the county, you know, not just, I don't have to pay it to the clerk of courts. The only thing that I file in the clerk of courts now is they'll process. And y'all realize $12.50 of that right there, you know, so it comes back, and I did increase the filing fees across the board from $8,000 to $9,000. Postage and mailing fees, I had a $1,000 increase there because I'm doing more certified mailings now. Instead of depending on somebody else to do my mailing and stuff, I do it when I get the letters back. It lets me know I need to go visit that piece of property. Advertising, I increased to $7,500. Sales last year, I started out with about 450, 500 homes on them. We took probably 200 of them all the way through the process. We only sold 1 home, but those fees all reverted back to the county, and always have. You know, the line item for collection services I've used as a catch-all. When I first took office, my predecessor had 33,000 sitting there. You see us sitting at 7,000 now, and that'll usually pay back to the county without. It may go to collection costs, may go to education costs, it may go just where we might need it. I hold that 7,000 just as a catch-all for printing and binding and everything else. Office supplies, you cost supply and demand, costs are going up, so I put just a little bit of margin in there, $300 on office supplies and $100 on a uniform. But beyond the wage portion of the bill, and I'm sure we'll shake that out when everything gets talked about and done, you know, we don't really have an increase here over the last year. And it goes without saying, and I've said this every year, if my COLAs or whatever can be used somewhere for the county, y'all welcome to them. You just are. And that, I mean, I'm proud of my ladies and the wage study stuff. Talking about the wage study stuff, it's hard to get people that you can sit there and depend on to get the job done and have good customer service and do what you need to do. And I've lost the last year or two that maybe didn't go the way I thought it ought to go, but we've made the office stronger on account of it. And I give you one example because y'all gonna see it at 6 o'clock. That's Melanie. All right, she's worth every dime you can throw at her. She's I've ever dealt with in my life. She has a working knowledge of legislation and everything. She goes to every single certification class I do. all right, she's right there beside me, and she's worth whatever dime she can get. We good on the front counter. I had toyed with the idea of maybe bringing a half-day or a part-time employee fifth chair, but last year I used it during the collection process, and it worked real fine. I took most of the property payments, and that gives the tag people time to go down to the other 2 or 3 and do whatever they need to do, kept things going through lunch. So I'm pretty much good. You know, what you got right there in front of you, most pay back to the Board of Commissioners. Okay, so you'll get your file pay money back, your advertising money back, or what don't spend will revert to the other. Last year was my tightest year I've ever turned in on a budget. I don't think I gave the county back about $9,000 last year, but I had some employee increases and stuff on the bottom line that just reflected that.
Let's clarify that. That 9,000 you give back, you do out of the goodness of your heart, because you don't have to.
Well, I
Just so, that is your money.
yeah,
Right now, it's going through the capital.
I know.
Well, there's some people in the DeKalb County said, no, I want to keep all my
Well,
money.
I mean, that's true.
But you truly could have a $9,000 increase if you wanted it, but you give it back to the people, which is.
When they did the when they did the study on all that, and they were doing the whole Wendell Wilkie thing, you know, they interviewed me, and when they found out I collected for 3 cities, I collect for all the cities now, Hull doesn't. They thought they had a live one, you know, and I explained to them that we hardly get daylight in parts of this. It wasn't the kind of money they was talking about. But that's always been my stopgap for giving my ladies raises and stuff like that, was those city collections. And they earn it a lot more than I do. I got the easy job. I ride around and give people letters and stuff like that, you know. But
Strong arm.
yeah.
Missy, on that workers' compensation right there, I think we got a digit off.
Mm-hmm.
See that? That definitely will affect your bottom line.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And what about the line item underneath at 264? That's
See, all of those are formulas. I'll go back and double check them, but those are formulas that I got from Tracy to calculate based on the salary. So,
On which one is that?
employee pension.
Yeah.
I'll double check with.
Yeah, that's-
Well, that's between
Yeah,
those
something
two,
like
that's, between those two, that's $22,000 swing or something?
Yeah, something's not right.
But like I said, I always promise to work with the county, do whatever. I used to work down the hall for $8.20 an hour. So, I think anything y'all do and what y'all done in the past and now is well appreciated, because if you can find somebody, a lot of the public has a misconception that if you work under this courthouse roof, you're just robbing the county blind. Nobody comes in these doors here happy because you got to pay taxes, or you're going to court, you know, or somebody's bad, you're probating a will. There's really nothing good that happens here. So the employees catch a lot of grief for the work that they do.
First and the last Mondays, I thought people were happy.
Hadn't been so far. No, it's a good deal. You know, I came to go to work later in life. I was 40 when I went to work in the assessor's office, and I realized, and was just talking to a gentleman today, if you make an effort to go out and talk to somebody, you'd be surprised. Our collection rates last year were better than we've ever had. And like I said, I had 2 tax sales, but I had set one, and if they had to threaten to whoop me, I wouldn't sold either. You know, it's just a difference of opinion right there. But people in the county, they step up and do what they have to do. It's proud.
What if we right now have outstanding?
We at right at
collection.
we're right at 99%, and if you go back over the 7 years, somewhere around 370 over the last 7 years. And I changed that too. I was doing statute of limitations on some stuff, but if I just freshen those FIFAs, I can bring some of those derelict parcels back up for sale, and you never know where a neighbor might say, well, I'll just buy that as a buffer. And that's the kind of stuff we're gonna work on in the future, getting 13, 14 parcels out there that are junk. I've tried to sell them several times in the past and can't. Most of them in the Carlton area, if you wanna know. I've tried to talk to the city about maybe buying them and exempting them. That's right, you know, and that's just kind of stuff we're working on now.
Melanie, you need to correct him in any way?
I really wasn't paying attention when
I felt something in my back. In my pocket.
Get the horns going on.
I'm dang. Sorry about that. Okay.
I heard one, but I didn't know what was doing.
Well, I'm thinking, boy, somebody needs to cut that horn off back there. But again, like I said, as long as my employees are took care of, and I know y'all out and do everything best, interest of the taxpayer and the employees, but I appreciate everything you've done for the employees already, you know. Went to talk a couple of times on some issues and sat down there and worked it out, and it ain't always been that way in the past, you know. For a long time, people thought if they sat in these chairs right here, they were supposed to dump on the courthouse and use that as an excuse. Y'all do well. I'm proud to work with y'all.
I got any questions? There you go, Bo.
I'm gonna go cut my horn off. I see y'all. Y'all make it.
Thanks, Lamar.
I think the collection rate through Lamar's office, if not, I'm not mistaken, Melanie, we're like the second in the state for the highest collection rate. There's one guy that gets almost 100%, and that's Lamar says he must go out with it beats him every.
I think some counties sell their, delinquent taxes, the 5 years or whatever, and so they're technically at 100%, but.
Yeah.
The counties that don't do that, it's really hard.
But, yeah, but they're selling discounted, so.
So they sell them for the amount of the taxes that are due.
Well, that's what I'm saying, but
They
they're,
add on more.
yeah,
And
that's
then
what I'm saying.
they selling.
That's right. I mean, that really, though, is the discounted rate for them.
I know Lamar alluded to it earlier this morning, but he truly does, and Melanie sees it because sometimes she comes frustrated if Lamar's not here, but somebody will come in and want to pay a payment on her taxes. He'll let them make pay. He does whatever it takes to make sure that you can afford to eat whatever you got. He definitely goes the extra mile for the public.
As long as they keep making
As
payments.
long as they keep making payments.
They stop and.
But I've heard Melanie say, well, he said I can come in and pay this. She's like, whoa, I didn't say that. I'm not taking that. You wait till Lamar gets back. But, we are pretty fortunate.
Yep.
Then we can take a 10-minute break or 5-minute break or whatever you like, unless anybody has any more questions.
That's everybody, right, Missy?
For tonight.
For today?
Everybody
Or William,
for today.
yeah. Anybody got anything to say about Lamar or Judge Pat?
No, Lamar's been awful helpful with me, getting out my problems and all straightened out. I think he's doing an excellent job.
Just going into every office every day, I would tell you, anybody off the street, if they have a problem, it can be solved in one of these offices right here. You might not be in the right one,
But a lot of it, I've been to the Board of Education meetings and all, and a lot of it is public information. People out and look, you know, the good Lord give you 2 eyes and 2 ears and 1 mouth. You need to be listening and looking more than you're talking. And that's what, you know, I've learned. This has really opened my eyes up. And I had a good success rate this morning in my hearing.
yeah.
They had me charged for 300-something square feet of heated space that I didn't have heated. That's been that way for 20 years.
Well, Christina found one the other day on her property.
Yeah.
You know, I mean.
People put it.
I moved to adjourn the
Yeah.
budget work session.
All right.
I gotta go to the
6 o'clock.
I said he was adjourning one way or another.
Old man has to go to the restroom. That's it.
Well, I was like that last night, I got out of here and went to football practice. Waiting on that young one. Golly.
And right, that's how we're pulling some.
He couldn't get in that car fast enough.
Careful, everybody got cameras now.
I know. Had not been, I almost went over the bank right there.
And then posted all over the county.
Yeah, but education drive. Yeah.
Well, we have Keller to have their estate.
We're looking at.
Well, the county line runs through.
Yeah.
Farm.
Yes.
Well, Madison County's been collecting
The whole
taxes
thing.
on, no, they're just collecting taxes on that extra 15 acres that we don't have. That's forever, I guess.
Yeah, we appreciate that.
Yeah, it's all.
Had you not worked here, I'd have saw that'd be a problem, but considering it's paying you a salary, I'd be happy. About 3 more years, we'll break even with you.
We're gonna note that in the performance review.
That's right.
That's up for the answer side. Oh, yeah, I know, Christopher, he didn't leave till what, 2 something?
That road was on Harris, way down there, those couches and chairs. So it says some trail cameras up, also, because it's more than just one person. Due to the statement I made to Kristen, did you catch one, he got the whole road, he inherits the whole, like, the top of the box. So
Yeah.
don't put something out, be short road.
That's what
That's what I'm gonna do, comments to these papers.
Yeah, that was the state.
Opening 98.
Okay, got you. Have you got that one up on the screen?
I can
Which one?
go scan it, but I don't have it on to put on the screen. I just have it.
What's it? That's like education right there, that's.
These are the ads that ran in the paper.
I know, but I think that one right there, people get. I don't know. I wouldn't really care. I don't think she's gonna get that many people if they all had a copy of this. You can pretty well explain it.
This